My name is John Gale, and this is the meeting of the Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee of the Court of Common Council of the City of Hartford. And this meeting is also being broadcast on HPA-TV, channel 96 on Comcast, channel 6032 on Frontier. That said, I'm joined this evening by committee member Marilyn Rossetti and committee co-chair Shirley Surgeon. I don't see any other committee members on the screen, but if they join, we'll make note of it. We're also joined by our Corporation Counsel, Rich Vasallo, and others who will introduce as appropriate. We have, I believe, just 2 items on the agenda this evening. So we'll get right to it. The item number 1 on the agenda is Mayor Arulampalam with accompanying ordinance establishing the Hartford Land Bank Authority. This is an item that first appeared on our agenda, council agenda of April 22nd of 2024.
Mr. Co-Chair, I'm going to make a motion to postpone that agenda item.
Okay, and I will second that motion. Or Council President, you're going to chime in and second that?
Yep, I second it.
Okay, and I see we're about to be joined by Councilman Amilcar Hernandez, also a committee member. Councilman, we've just discussed item 1 on the agenda. There's a motion on the floor that's been made and seconded to postpone this item to the next meeting of this committee. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. This matter is continued to the agenda of the next meeting of the Planning, Economic Development, and Housing Committee. Moving on then to item number 2 on the agenda. Item number 2 is Mayor Arulampalam with accompanying resolution to reflect that the city is authorized to enter into a development agreement and ground leases with 7 Summits Realty. This is item 3.7 on the October 14th, 2024 Hartford City Council agenda. And I know Council President and I have had the opportunity to talk a little bit about this with the Development Services Director and Jeff Ocker and William Diaz from the office. And I see a host of other people that are on the Zoom call at this point. Before I turn that over, though, to Director Ocker, let me just state that my understanding of the resolution before us is that we are essentially moving forward on a resolution that was already passed by council back in December of 2023 and making a substitution in that resolution of 7 Summits Realty as the new entity that would benefit from that resolution in lieu of Andaleave Enterprises LLC, which was the developer that was originally named. So my understanding is we're swapping one developer for another, but let me turn that over to Director Ocker, and you correct me if I'm wrong, certainly, and add any other comments that would be appropriate on this.
Thank you, Councilman Gale. No, you nailed it right. We're just, we've looked at the property, we've looked at the work to be done, we've looked at the capabilities that Andaleave and ACE have, along with 7 Summits. 7 Summits has a much more rounded set of capabilities that we believe are, and we've discussed with y'all, are targeted to the work to be done here. So it is a simple swapping out to move along on this as quickly as possible. William, if there's anything or if there's any other questions, William's here as well to get into the details, but
Yeah,
Councilman, you nailed it.
yeah, you're correct, Councilman. When we presented the project to the council back in December, the language in there was that Andy was going to stay in as a minority partner, but the intent even back in December was to have Seven Summits be the lead developer. Um, the relationship didn't work out, and Lee requested to be removed from the project, and he's putting that in writing. So we're just gonna move forward with the project with Seven Summits without having Andy Lee as a minority partner in the project.
And
But
my understanding is that the term sheet that was approved by council in December of 2023 is not changing at all.
that is correct. The term sheet, the project, the programming, the amount of units, the affordability component, the funding sources are all remaining the same.
All right, well, thank you very much. I see we've been joined by Councilman Mictum. Councilman Mictum, we're taking up item 2 on the agenda, which seems to be a replacement of developers on a resolution that council has already passed back in December of 2023. Let me open that up to. Let me open up the floor to any other council members.
Just leave that alone, please.
Have any questions with regard to this?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Councilman Hernandez.
Yeah, question. So, maybe perhaps for William, on the term sheet, I don't have the term sheet in front of me, but the timeline change due to this delay and these, changes? Did the timeline that was detailed on the term sheet change due to these changes or amendment?
Let's be. The timeline was based on a time period, but that period hasn't started, because there has to be X amount of pre-development activities that need to take place prior to the developer reaching out to the Department of Housing for funding, for example. So they have to do a preliminary application when they're up to like 40% drawings. Once they're accepted into the program, they're given the green light to submit an official application, and usually they're around 90% at that point. So there's a lot of money to be spent prior to pursuing the funding. So that unfortunately that piece hasn't started yet because of the need to get this secured and having a development agreement executed.
So the term sheet doesn't have to be adjusted because it was only,
it was a timeline based on 18
timeline.
months from exactly things
Gotcha.
like that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And just to follow up on that, I understand that the timeline is about 18 months, as was for Seven Summits, before there's a shovel in the ground and the city no longer owns the property.
That's what we discussed. Yes.
Okay. Councilman Mictum.
Thank you. And forgive me because I came in a few minutes late if this has already been answered, but I see in the amendment it says that Andalib has waived or will waive, I think is the language, any rights. And is that in writing already? I don't want us to be stumbling into a situation where
it's going to be
they
put
sue
in,
us.
there's some back and forth in the language that on the letter that he's committed to walking away from the project. We just want to make sure that there's no issues going forward before we execute an agreement with another entity. So we just want to make sure that.
So to be clear, though, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure. But so because we'll send this back, this has to go back to council. We'll have something in writing from Andalib. Like this will all be squared away.
Yes, sir. Correct. You are correct. We will.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome. Any other council members? Any other questions?
It's not.
Precious iPhone, could you please mute? Thank you. I want to just mention that I know this went to public hearing and we had received comment from people, and I received an email today just reiterating comment from I believe this was from the chair of the Upper Albany NRZ that has since it's in that neighborhood, they paid considerable attention to this and are fully supportive, as I understand it, of the resolution. And I see a couple of people on the Zoom call here tonight who may be with that NRZ, but I don't know that there's any particular reason to call on anyone. We have it in the record that the NRZ is fully supportive.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So as you had summarized the program before that was with us over the last year or two, as a resident in Upper Albany, I also want to go on record of support of this development. Was the old back in the days we should have called the old police substation used to be there, and there's a lot of activities. About a year or so ago, the city worked with the residents to get that area in fence because of activities that was not appropriate being used there. So development on that piece of property is certainly something the neighbors are looking forward to having. In conjunction with that, as much as, we are hearing about, the need for housing, more affordable housing is certainly needed in the city. And also, I believe on the first floor is going to be retail. I can't see one or two, any empty retail area on the avenue right now. People are looking. We have so much entrepreneurs in the community that people are looking for an area to set up a business. So this project is also addressing housing, and it's also addressing the commercial retail part of the expectations of the residents in the neighborhood. So I'm certainly, been in support of this project from several years ago, and just want to actually see something be done on that site. So I will ask my colleagues, to support this resolution. And I apologize for the noise, but I'm at a community meeting.
It sounds like you're making a motion to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Well, right now we have a Homestead Avenue presentation that's happening at the Artist Collective. Again, that's part of Upper Albany, and that is happening right now. So I encourage any residents on the meeting to come on over to the Artist Collective and give their opinion for the Homestead Avenue redevelopment project.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll be ready to make a motion, officially a motion, if you're ready.
Sure, we can continue to have discussion, but make the motion by all means.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to send these back with a favorable recommendation back to council.
And I'll second that.
And is there any further discussion on that matter? I know we just heard from Council President, and I think she's certainly reiterating the feeling of all council as we passed this the first time around. And I think we'd all like to see this development project moving forward, understanding there's been some delay. But hopefully at this point in time.
All right, take care. All right.
Mr. Chair, I would just reiterate sort of what I said in my question, because I'm going to vote along with the rest of the to send it back. We should make sure that everything's squared away in terms of the waivers before the full council approves.
Mr. Diaz, did you not confirm that you have waivers from Andalib?
I have just a verbal waiver. We drafted a letter. We're going back and forth. I was actually supposed to have something today, but I haven't received it yet. But we won't execute an agreement until that letter is received in writing.
Councilman Mictum, is that sufficient for your purposes, that the development services will not execute an agreement?
Well, I guess I'll just say that we should. My inclination, and this is for us to deal with when it comes to council, is that we shouldn't vote on it at council I would urge development services to get that squared away before it comes before council. And if it's not squared away, if it's not squared away, I would move that at that point to postpone it. So I'm just putting it out there that let's get that done.
So you're requesting a letter prior to the final vote at the council meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and barring that, I think we could probably still move it forward simply by amending it, making that a condition as opposed to postponing it. But we can deal with that at the council meeting. For tonight's purposes, we have a motion on the floor to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation. Any other discussion on that motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. This will be sent back to council. I think there'll be an attempt to get this on the council agenda for next week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I think we're going to have a supplemental. Unfortunately, today was agenda day, and our committee normally meets after agenda day. So if we can't get it on supplemental for next, then it will be on the following council meeting.
Okay, so if possible, we're going to try to get this on for the next council meeting, which I understand Monday being a holiday, council will be meeting on Tuesday, November the 12th. At 7 p.m. for all those listening and want to come down and watch. Okay. Well, I only see 2 items on the agenda. Anything else for any of my council colleagues at this point? Seeing and hearing none from my council colleagues, I want to thank you all for attending this evening, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting. Good night, everyone.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you all.
thank you.